Have you seen Bungie's Marathon remake? I don't give a shit about it. Fucking extraction shooter? Jesus Christ. God almighty. I guess, hey, at least they didn't announce it was going to be like a live service, like looter shooter, like fucking Destiny or whatever, or Darktide, or whatever else. I hate those genres. Darktide was good, but then it got mixed up from what I heard. No. Alright, guys. I'm gonna hit you all with the real red pill that you need to understand for games. All live service games are garbage. All of them. Every single one of them. They're all bad. All of them are bad. They're all bad. All live service games. TF2? TF2 is not a live service game. Fortnite? Yeah, Fortnite is literally maybe the most successful exploitative microtransaction whale-draining game in history. Yeah, even Fortnite. What about League? What do you think I think about League? People in chat are just reaffirming my point. Vaush coping because he's bad at competitive games. No, it's not about being bad at competitive games. It's that the fucking monetization model for games like this are trash. Have you noticed that, like, every soul-sucking, fucking terrible, gigantic disappointment of a game in the past couple years has been one of those? Like a live service looter shooter or some shit? This keeps happening over and over again. It's just like it's your fucking gotcha shit. Like Darktide. I was excited for Darktide because I thought it would be like Left 4 Dead 2 or whatever, because you're like 4 dudes and you've got the hordes or whatever. But no, after every run you get like a 0.3% chance that you might get a piece of loot that might be a 2% DPS upgrade, and what the fuck you do? This is an objectively worse way to experience these games. Like, oh, yeah, here the end game is like slowly grinding up to get better numbers on your gear. You'd run the same missions over and over again with no substantial change. The best version of this type of thing that I've ever seen is probably Warframe, and I still think it's bad with Warframe, but that's the best example that I've seen of it. I haven't played Deep Rock Galactic. What the fuck are you people talking about? Okay, it's a whole thing. It's a whole goddamn meme. Would you include MMORPGs in this category, or do they bring enough to the table between paid updates to justify themselves? The only thing in my mind that distinguishes MMORPGs potentially is that I genuinely think that raid tiers are a much better example of, like, managing live content updates. Because, like, live service model games or whatever are like fucking, you know, run the same mission. There's like, oh, there's 10 types of missions that you can run at the end game. Run them over and over and over again for incremental increases the strength of your build. But the difficulty is very rarely the actual, like, running the missions, you know? Whereas with Warcraft and like progression rating, you win when you beat that boss. There is an end. You're not just redoing the same content over and over. You're doing these raid tiers. Look, all I can do is talk about, like, emotional experiences here, but I put 300 hours into Warframe, and my memory of that game is like a blank null void in my head, because it just blurs together into this seamless, homogenate blob of, like, running missions over and over again for this just, like, infinite gameplay loop. But I have distinct memories from World of Warcraft, because it's not just a blob of da-da. It's like, oh, this raid week, like, this cool thing, like, these, then da-da. There's, like, way more investment engagement, because, like, the guild system helps bring you up your level of investment. I've not played Ultra Kill. Yes, War Thunder is a giant blob of nothing that eats time. Guys, stop playing things that are just giant blobs of nothing that eat time. You have a finite lifespan, okay? Your lives are finite. You only get so much time. All the time you spend engaging in this monotonous brain drain, it's easy and it's what I know, so I'll put it on bullshit, is time that you could have been spending having a genuinely novel artistic experience. Treat yourself right. What's a good loot shooter? No, saying no. I play what's fun, thank you. Just don't mistake what's comfortable for what's fun, okay? There's a difference. I'll do what I want, thanks. You will not do what you want. You play Final Fantasy XIV, don't talk? No, I don't. I stopped. I did the leveling for Final Fantasy XIV, reached the end game, immediately realized it wasn't going to be fun, then stopped. That, by the way, is the overwhelming willpower, okay? That you wish you had. I played that game for like 100 hours, getting my character up to max level. And then I reached the end game. I was like, okay, never. So this is what it was for, and leave. I turned 360 degrees around and walked away. Get out of there. Do you feel this way about Monster Hunter? I liked Monster Hunter World because there was like a narrative through line that connected it. But then when I played Monster Hunter Rise, like, fuck. I think it's very fun its first time through. But the fact that it just scales up the way that it does, I don't like that at all. But it's not as bad because that's not really a live service game. This is just a game that has kind of like a blurry end game on the upper end. It's a lot of these games, Japanese people have been on this for longer than we have because the live service shit's relatively new, but I feel like a lot of Japanese games have just for some reason decided that it's right to have end games that are just a blurry mess of like numerically progressively more difficult bullshit that doesn't like artistically enrich the experience at all. Like, okay, let me put it this way. We can all acknowledge a difference between an end game being a new boss that is very difficult and an end game being like you replay the last couple of levels over and over again with the numbers on all the enemies' health and damage getting tweaked upward until it's like, oh, I can only get to new game +7. It's that's the limit of my power. Like there's just it's because you're not doing anything new. Some game systems maybe, but a lot of them no, especially RPG type stuff. IMO doesn't have to be artistic to be fun. It's a video game. It's art, anyway. Is your favorite multiplayer game category? I have no idea what you mean. Play Terraria? I've played Terraria. Final Fantasy XIV does have a story, though? Yeah, it does. I just skipped all of it. I'm not impugning it on its story. I'm saying the end game didn't satisfy me. Monster Hunter World did good for a lot of reasons. Dragonflight's currently free. I can't... Guys, do you seriously want me to play WoW and, like, have less time for stream? I already don't stream enough. You really want me to get into WoW? What would you rate the new Zelda out of 10? 6 out of 10. Is it not better than Breath of the Wild? I guess it's a better version of Breath of the Wild, but considering that the fundamental beat of the game was hit in Breath of the Wild and hasn't changed at all, maybe Breath of the Wild is the better game in the sense that it created the things that Tears of the Kingdom is now building on, standing on the shoulder of giants. Do you believe a game without a set endgame can't be done in a satisfying way? It depends on the point of the game. If there's like a cool narrative game or whatever, or like okay, here's an example, right? Undertale, widely considered to be one of the best indie games ever made, right? Most people won't do the genocide route, okay? They'll like watch a YouTube video or something. They'll do the neutral then the pacifist route because that's like the normal way most people play through it, okay? Mechanically, the end of the pacifist route is nowhere near as mechanically engaging as the end of the genocide route. Yet, I don't think that it's like a worse endgame. I don't think that endgame even functions in the context of Undertale. When I say endgame, what I mean is that games that are meant to indefinitely hold your attention, how do they do that, right? And I think that different systems do it like differently, right? I was always okay with WoW raid tiers because it's like you have the raid in different difficulties. Once you've beaten that raid in the highest difficulty, that's it. You're done. You can keep doing it if you want, but it's not like incrementally pushing the numbers higher and higher. There is a definite endpoint. And when they release the next raid tier, then that'll be the definite endpoint, and so on and so on. I like that a lot. I don't think it's perfect, and I don't think it's objectively better than like all other types of endgame, but I do like the idea of an endgame having like a structured and definite system that you can overcome and be done with it. Because as I've said many times before, and will continue to say, I think that there's only two ways you can finish a game. You either get tired of playing it or you complete it. And I think it's way better to complete a game than to get tired of it. How does coming first make it better? Because if you just remake a game, like the second game isn't as good as the first one, because you have to consider the context of what it's bringing to the world and what people are experiencing from it, right? Like if somebody released like The Godfather, and then some other studio was like, oh, check this out, and then released The Godfather with no changes, people wouldn't go to to both movies and go like, oh, it's a masterpiece. Like, yeah, you have to do new stuff, right? I mean, do you feel like repetitive stuff you're talking about applies to speedrunning? Speedrunning is fine because in that point, the goal is to best yourself and how quickly you play through it. You can speedrun literally anything. You can speedrun Undertale if you want. You know, that's a different kind of engagement. I respect speedrunning a lot, even though I don't like it. Is Stardew live service? No. Doesn't Destiny have raids? I've seen Destiny's raid system. I'm not... I come for Vaush politic, not Vaush media takes. Holy fuck, can we do some politics? This is politics. Fuck all of you.